Hey, Bucket Pond family, we have a problem. The bladder snails are hungry, they are starving, and we must provide food. So that's why, in a previous episode, I built the Algae Aquarium. After seeing some of the wild bladder snails consuming filamentous algae, I decided to grow some intentionally with the hope of using it as a food source for our other bladder snails. So today we're going to test that out. We're going to take some of this hair-like algae and we're going to apply it to another aquarium and see if the snails will consume it. So we have this quaint 1 quart jar aquarium here, which is a beautiful example of a bucket ponds aquarium. This was designed with a full ecosystem inside, meant to produce fertilizer for our pothos plants on top of the jar. It works perfectly. We have paramecium, bladder snails, some tubifex worms, and a few other things in here as well. But for today, we're going to worry about the bladder snails, and we're going to feed them some filamentous algae. It looks a lot like a chunky slime here outside of the water, but I pulled this right out of the algae aquarium, and we're going to add it right to our quaint 1 quart experimental jar. I built this 1 quart aquarium about 2 months ago, and I built it off screen for personal reasons, mostly to grow cuttings of that pothos. I built like 5 of these, but yeah, this one's really nice and it'll work well for the experiment. So there's our hair algae, kind of acting like a ball, kind of just floating right there for now. And I don't expect all of the snails to rush over to it and eat it immediately. They are snails. It will take them a while. Anytime you give them food, you have to be patient. But let's cross our fingers and hope they choose to eat the algae. I'm a bit worried that it might come down to a food choice type of situation where, it might be not the best food, where they would choose anything else first and then maybe eat the algae if they had no other choice. That's something I'm thinking might happen. But as it is, this jar looks great. I do want to show you the up-down view. Pothos everywhere. And even though when I purchased the mother plant, it wasn't labeled pothos, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But it works well. Lots of growth since I put this together. And yeah, not every bucket ponds aquarium is weird or nasty or dirty or anything. They're actually pretty nice. Let's come back in a few hours and see if the snails are responding. If they're interested in this filamentous algae. You're going to hear me say filamentous and algae quite a bit in this video. Please forgive me. But yeah, you'll also see a chunk of something in the water. That is a cucumber. Or excuse me. Wow. That is a coconut. That is a chunk of coconut that is slowly decomposing and the snails are eating it. I am sorry, you guys. I got very excited to see all of our snails appear. We have everyone. Every snail in this jar has come up to the surface to check out the filamentous algae. They are interested. And there are quite a few in here, way more than I expected. These snails came from my mutagen pond, or at least their parents did, when we put them in this jar. You'll see 1 or 2 older adults in here, the initial pioneers for this aquarium. But they are all up here, with a few of them even in the algae. And that's cool. So I can't say for sure they're eating it, but they are definitely interested. And that's a good sign. I would very much like to prove that bladder snails can be beneficial. And of course, we know they are a benefit for our ecosystems. Many of my projects would not work the way they do without bladder snails. But I want to show you guys that, these are cool pets. They are not the enemy. So we're back 4 days later, and we're checking on the jar. It looks amazing. Yeah, this is just a beautiful tank, and I'm really happy with it. But I see that our water is clear up top and kind of green down below. And I believe that that filamentous algae has simply kind of sank to the bottom. Yeah, that's what it looks like. It did spread out a bit more as well, but I am seeing something very interesting. You guys might think is kind of nasty. There's debris in the algae. It's acting like a net, and it's catching some types of debris. I can't say for sure what all of that is, but that's interesting. So, if nothing else, I could reach down in there with some tweezers and pull out a bunch of that algae and remove little particles of floating stuff and whatnot from the water. And here's a good example of what I meant by food choice. This is one of the older adults in here, and it's choosing to just plow through the mulm. And instead of even thinking about eating that algae, it's eating something down here in the bottom. So there are other food sources, including that chunk of coconut in this tank. And I do believe the snails are biologically able to eat the filamentous algae, as we've seen wild specimens doing that in the recent past. But I want to show you guys something. Let's watch this one snail, one of the older adults, venturing towards the surface of the jar. Look at this right here. If I'm saying this right, that's a pneumostome. It's how they breathe. It's how they get air, or yeah, how they take a breath of air. But I've never quite seen it like that. What do you think? Is that strange? I've raised thousands of bladder snails, and I've never really seen that particular appendage be featured so prominently. And it's not just that one snail, it's all of them in this population. They all seem to have something about the size of their foot that reaches out and takes a breath. And that is kind of normal for bladder snails, but I've never seen one so apparent. I've never seen that pneumostome so large and just unmistakable. What do you guys think? Do your bladder snails have a similar appendage? They should have some method for catching some, a breath of air under their shell. But that seems really odd. That seems so large and just different than my other snails. Who knows? These guys did come from the mutagen pond, so there's a good chance that they might carry some kind of mutations. And I just want to look at that one more time. Yeah, like at first I thought that was another bladder snail on its back or something. And I could even see the pneumostome kind of sticking out a little bit as he was crawling across the glass. So I don't know. Yeah, I get excited about possible traits and mutations and stuff. But yeah, it looks like our snails are not gonna eat the filamentous algae. They're choosing not to. I believe they are able to if they were starving. We'll try again with the wild snails. I still have an isolated population of them. They've been breeding, they're hanging around, and we'll see if they will enjoy the filamentous algae. Who knows? Yeah, we might have to play with this a bit more. I do like growing that algae. I think it's really beautiful and kind of fun, and it's effortless, so that's fun too. Big thank you to my YouTube members, the Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. You always inspire me and encourage me. And thank you to the entire Bucket Ponds family, everyone watching, all the people we've met over the years, my wife and I. Thank you so much. And I look forward to bringing you another episode next Sunday with more stuff.